Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Sunday evening, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tades, good afternoon, good evening. Well, it's afternoon in your part of town, right? So today, I just want to have a conversation or uh talk about anxiety, right? As part of mental health, right? So anxiety, everybody has you know knows what anxiety is. It's just about anxiousness about something, right? But it's a disorder. It can be a disorder as well, and there's many different type of disorders of anxiety, right? You got people that has generalized anxiety. There's people that have social phobias. That they don't want to be in public. Too many people gets them excited or whatever have you. Then you got, panic disorders. You got specific phobias, afraid of heights, arachnophobia, things of that nature. OCD is a part of the anxiety disorder tree. Hoarding is part of that anxiety disorder as well. So, with all of that being said, right, you know, there's many ways to get these things. I know that for most people, that's the it's a little bit different for depression, right? Because a lot of things with depression is like a trauma or emotional trauma or physical trauma or something to that attribute. With anxiety, you can have a trauma that leads you to a specific disorder of anxiety, but it can also be, medicated or imbalance in the mind. Uh, 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 it's not just a traumatic thing. There's many things that could make you have an anxiety disorder, right? So, like you may have never been in a you may have never been flying in a plane before, but you have a fear of flying, right? That's just a a, a a a thing with like flying. You may not have been on the 10th floor, but you're afraid of heights, roller coasters, things like that. It's not always a traumatic thing that makes you have these type of disorders. It's just like you have to. It's an imbalance somewhere. A lot of times in life, we just have a disbalance in our unbalance in our life. So the first thing we would have to do is try to understand what causes us to have this anxiety problem, right? When you have an anxiety problem, right, you can have it so bad, the negative anxiety that you could be excited for a right reason. For example, your anxiety could be so bad that you can go to your child's graduation and you're you excited that they call your child's name, but you have an anxiety attack because your body and mind doesn't know the difference between good anxiety and bad anxiety. So that's just the word. Good afternoon, good evening. That's just the imbalance of what's going on with inside of you, right? So we have to figure out how to get these balances, checks and balances in order. If you do those type of things, you could be able to conquer said disorders as far as anxiety. It's especially when you have those type of anxiety where it's just an imbalance, right? You don't really need the medicine to make yourself balance, but you need to have the conversations to find out what's wrong. How did you get to this point in life? You know what I mean? So those are the conversations that we need to have. So we would have to be open and honest enough to say, hey, there's a problem with us. There's a problem with me. And I know the first thing that people would do is go to a doctor, whether it's a therapist, a psychologist, or whatever. But you have to be assertive to where, good evening, Kay, how you feeling? You have to be assertive to say, I know that something's wrong with me. Why is my body out of whack when I get excited? Right? or if I have any of these different disorders. Why am I so intent on cleaning everything, even if I just clean it? That's an OCD disorder. But they have clinically placed that into an anxiety disorder, right? Or why do I feel I need to collect things to become a hoarder is another way of is another clinically uh, asset as far as anxiety. How do we get to these points? Why are we at these points? What is going on with us to where we are at these levels? We need to have the conversation to figure it out. Now, the last one, as far as the hoarding, that's more of a situation of emotional or physical trauma or whatever have you. But a lot of it, like I said, is not just that type of trauma. You could just have an imbalance, or you could just be afraid of something so much that it takes over your mind. I can't get on that roller coaster because I'm afraid that it's gonna do something to me. That's an anxiety. That's a social anxiety, right? I may not be able to stand up and talk in front of people. That's a social anxiety as well. We have to understand that anxieties come in many different forms, shapes, and formats. Scorpio, good evening. The 702, good evening. You got to understand that a lot of these things can come at us at a different in a different light, in a different format. And the crazy thing is, a lot of us probably don't even realize that these are all an anxiety issue. We probably say, well, because I ain't never flew before, I don't want to get on a plane. No, that's a why are you so afraid to fly? What has been implanted in your mind to where that is an anxiety if you get on a plane that you going something's going to happen? Why is it stuck in your mind if you get on a roller coaster something's going to happen? Right? It's not just about medicated situations. We are doing something to ourselves to where these anxieties come into our lives and stays there. It's like it just plants itself in our minds, and we have to figure a way out of it. Santina, good evening. And those are the things that we need to like really figure out or have a conversation about. Why are we so afraid of things? Some of us are so afraid to go forward that we make that an anxiety issue. I don't. I have a dream or a goal to go to, but I'm afraid that it's go. Oh, you just made that an anxiety. Every time you step forward, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so afraid. It's okay to be nervous, but when it manifests into a problem, that's an anxiety. Sometimes we say manifestation as a good thing, but a lot of times things could be negatively manifested into our lives, into our minds. And we have to understand that that is possible in each and every one of us. So we have to, like I said, we have to figure out what is the steps that we have to do. What are the goals to make sure that this is not an implemented thing in each and every our lives. Lisa J, good evening. So we, like I said, we just gotta have that conversation, right? For me, like in the beginning, I was I'm not gonna say it was anxiety, it was nerves. But if the anxiety would have took over me having these conversations on this app, I wouldn't be here today. It would be like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm gonna say something wrong. Oh my God, I don't think people gonna receive me. You could have just nitpicked any little. I could have just nitpicked any little thing and said I don't want to do this thing, all because anxiety has taken over in our life. So understand what it is that sets your anxiety off, what it is that makes you so afraid that you're going to do something wrong. Fear has a lot to do with the anxiety for the most part. So we have to overcome said fear. How do we do that? Sometimes, if like we got to trust people around us. If we go to an amusement park, trust me, I'm a hold your hand through the whole roller coaster. We can overcome that fear. And if we don't overcome that fear, you're safe and we just won't do it anymore. Sometimes you got to take the risk to take the step forward to defeat whatever it is that's holding you back from whatever this fear is, and make sure that this is not an anxiety disorder and just like a regular fear or a regular worryation, right? Those are the things that we must focus on, right? That's just those aspects of social and generalized disorders. Now, the traumatic or emotionally traumatic disorders, the OCD, the hoarding, and the panic disorders, and all of those things, we have to find out what what has happened to get us to that point. You know, like depression, hoarding could be, somebody losing their life, and we're not the same without this person, or something negatively happening in our lives to where we just, we staying in the bubble, and we just, whatever happens, we keeping everything inside the bubble, and we just gonna collect things and leave it where it's at, to where we're not even trying to fix our problems. You know. Thank you, Santina. So we have to really get into ourselves and examine ourselves to say what makes us not want to go outside, what makes us become a hoarder, what makes us so cleansy that we're going to keep washing the same things over and over and over again. What makes us a germaphobe, as some people would call it, to where we have to do these things over and over and over. What happened? What has triggered this anxiety to where I need to do those things, or I'm afraid to do those things? We have to, thank you, Tay. We have to understand that, a lot of things is happening in our lives. What they say, life is life, but we cannot let all of these negative and unbalanced attributes keep us on the wrong side of the fence. We can't just say, you know what, I'm stuck in a rut, so I don't want to go out and be social. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't think I can help somebody. Things of that nature. Because at the end of the day, you can be an asset, you can be a liability. But as long as that anxiety is keeping you at bay, you can't do nothing. Your hands are tied. You feel like you're carrying a ball and chain on your ankle. It's just you just dragging and dragging, and it's holding you back from being that special person that you're meant to be, for being that great person that you are meant to be, all because the fear of something, or the trauma of something is keeping you at bay. Those are all negative attributes. The fear and the trauma is all negative attributes. We have to find out how to defeat something to where we could go ahead and be the people that we are, or the people that we need to be. Like, just imagine if Lisa J was so afraid of coming up on camera and giving us information on how to invest and how to trade and how to build stocks. A lot of people that's following her wouldn't have a clue of what's going on. But because she doesn't have that fear, she could flow freely. She could speak clearly. She can have, the impact that she has because there's no fear behind her, right? Let's just say, Santina, she likes, she likes to cook. So just imagine if she was camera shy. I can't go up there because A, B, and C. I might not be able to speak clearly. I'm too worried about how I may look on the camera, or this, that, and the third. If she had that fear, we couldn't have Santina Love on the app. Same thing with Tay. Same thing with Miss 702. Same thing with Word. As long as fear is leading our lives, that anxiety will kick in the overdrive sometimes, because it's being fed by the fear. Not just the regular fear of like, all right, what if nobody catches or understands what I'm saying? Forget that part. Just the fear of you might feel like you might embarrass yourself. You might fear that, the words are not coming out of your mouth correctly. You feel like you're babbling and so on and so forth. No, that's the anxiety talking to you. That's the fear that talks to you. You can equivalate fear into anxiety for a lot of the things and a lot of people. Like I said, I'm not even talking about the trauma side of the thing. I'm just talking about a fear. What if you fear to drive? That's an anxiety thing. You are so afraid that something may happen if you drive that you won't even get a permit. You won't even take a test. You won't even sit behind the wheel of a vehicle just to sit down. Oh, I can't sit there. Let me sit in the back seat. It's so grasping in that fear that the fear alone could make you feel traumatized. You see what I'm saying? That's just the way that this thing goes. A lot of it is because our minds are not regulated to combat the anxiety. Word says identifying the issue is sometimes the hardest part. That takes being honest with self and accepting the issue. I agree with that, right? Because at the end of the day, you can tell yourself whatever you want, but having that conversation with yourself is not going to be productive sometimes because you're going to answer your own questions. And the fear of having that anxiety issue, it still may lead you down the wrong path. So I understand where that goes. Imagine having trust issues and coming to YouTube to find healing. Uh, well, I put it to you like this, Miss 702. There's a lot of people that feel that way, but guess what happens sometimes, right? You can feel comfortable talking to that stranger because a lot of the time there may be like it may be no shade because they don't have enough info to pass judgment on you. That could be a fear. That could be an anxiety issue. There's a lot of people that just come up here to hear things and they could be productive, but they're afraid that they may not be received. I was like that. If certain people didn't encourage me to come up here and have these conversations and share what I have, I wouldn't be up here because I really, really doubted that I can really do this. I'm not a people person. I mean, I'm a people person, but I'm not an orator to where I can come up here and have a conversation like that. Because sometimes I get so flustered, and sometimes I could just have the passion to keep going that I could bypass a whole bunch of things. But that comes with practice. But if you don't practice how to fight your fears and how to fight your anxiety, you won't be able to do none of that. So I definitely understand that too, because there's a lot of people that'll take your kindness for a weakness, and they will try to use what you say against you. But I can't have that fear lead to the anxiety that I don't need in my life, because everybody here, like I said, everybody here, I believe everybody here is an influence, right? You can encourage me to keep going forward, or you could somebody or a troll could come up here and just shut you down, and then you'll stop being on YouTube because that fear, that troll elevating other people could shut your whole thing down. Yeah, give me a second, score. So when you go through those levels, when you go through those situations, you got to understand that fear it motivates your anxiety. It triggers your anxiety for the most part because it's so much that you worry about the worryation and the things of that nature. It'll elevate your anxiety to where you don't your body, like I said earlier, your body don't know the good from the bad. You can have so much fear, but you could be excited, like somebody watches sports, right? But they have anxiety problems. You get so excited somebody score a basket. Your body don't know the difference. Somebody scores a touchdown. You excited, but your body don't know the difference. So it is shut down because it's an unbalance. It's a good anxiety and a bad anxiety, but when you don't have the balance of anxiety or in your mind, body, and soul, you don't know the difference. Your body don't know the difference, so it will turn around and make that good anxiety a bad one. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand that we have to control ourselves. We got to control the fears. We got to control our mind. There's a lot to control when it comes to anxiety, but because sometimes it gets away from us, the worryation gets to us so much, it'll lead your mind down the wrong path. It'll make the disorder mental and to where you don't understand the difference between good or bad. Y'all talking about somebody might want to give you $1 to make you holler. Squab, what's going on with you today? But yeah, you know what I mean? So, as far as that part, yeah, that's a thing of mental or fear. I mean, the trauma, of course, is fear too. You know what I mean? But at the same time, that's just like it's more than a fear. That's an experience that you had that made you decide to become OCD. That's a experience that you had that may make a panic attack come into existence. That's a experience that make you become a hoarder, or the traumatic side of things that'll make you a hoarder. The fact that anxiety can control so many aspects of your life, but it all starts in one place. No matter how you look at it, it's always going to start in the mind. That's why it's a mental illness. That's why, your heart could hurt, but your mind will make it race to another level, that fear will kick in, And if you keep thinking about those traumatic experiences, it'll affect your mind. And then, all right, I'm worried. Now I gotta sit here and go collect things. Now I'm worried. Now I gotta make sure I clean this, even though I just washed this with bleach 5 minutes ago. I don't think it's clean enough. It's a worryation thing. It's a mental thing that attacks the mind. That anxiety is that powerful and that influential that it can wreck your life. You know what I mean? Sometimes when what you perceive is not reality, people will cook an entire story in their head, and sometimes based on, and because of that, they cooked it in their mind. They're gonna believe it, and when they believe it, it triggers that anxiety, like you said, Tay. So that's why I'm saying it's the way we plant things in our mind. You could believe a story that may not be true. You might see a spider make a web and say, "Oh my God, the spider uncaught a bird." I'm scared of that. I'm scared of that thing. Me. Good evening. So those are the type of things that we have to worry about. We have to exercise our mind to where it could be balanced enough to not allow the worriations to kick in, the traumas to be set in our minds to where that overtakes any aspects of thoughts. You know what I mean? But if we don't continue to work on that, if we don't try to find a way to alleviate those pressures, that thing will take over our lives. And it won't just be a weekly thing, a monthly thing. It could be years before you get over your attacks of anxiety. Medication ain't gonna do nothing but put a band-aid on it, but you're not solving the problem. Oh, you could calm it down. Well, let's make sure, let's find a way that we could eliminate it. It's an illness that could be eliminated. You know what I mean? But we have to find a way to eliminate the root cause of the situation, and not just keep putting band-aids on it by medicating it. Because even the medication can make you have an anxiety-based issue. Like the TD, tardive dyskinesia, that could mess your whole mind up to now your body is moving involuntarily. That's an anxiety attack. You see what I'm saying? All because you trying to medicate your mind, and then that triggers your body to do something else. There's a whole bunch of different things that could lead you into an anxiety attack. But it's all gonna start in one place. Your mind. That's why this is one of the most important mental health situations that we had to discuss. I just started with depression because I know a lot of people think that's the first thing when you say mental health. A lot of people want to say, well, depression is the first one that goes. BDB, good afternoon, good evening. How you living? How you feeling? There you go. But that's just the way it goes. When you say depression, that's the first one everybody says that's the mental health issue. But anxiety is bigger to me than depression, because the fear of messing up, the fear of not being productive, the fear of something could allow your mind to just race all over the place. It could make you not want to eat. It could make you not, it could make you do a lot of things. It may make you not want to go outside no more. It could keep you in the house. It could keep you in a disorder of OCD. It can keep you in a disorder of hoarding, all because things ain't going on the way that you want it to go in your mind. So the fact that everything starts in the mind, we got to figure out a way to keep our minds free and flowing. It's not like a circulatory thing as blood, but you need that mind to be flowing free, because once it starts to clutter up, these things could affect your life. I don't want to talk on YouTube no more. I think I ain't doing right on YouTube. Let me get rid of my YouTube channel. I ain't being productive. If a troll comes in and scares the hell out of you, you ain't trying to be up there no more. If people talk dirty and nasty about you, you ain't gonna want to do that. It's a fear, whether we understand it or not. But it can also be the anxiety of, I want to curse. I can't stand that person. You want to curse them out so bad, but you don't want to. You know what I mean? You letting that that anxiety kick your tail because these people are over here talking crazy and reckless about you on this thing. That's an anxiety. That's an attack on your mind. So that can lead you into an anxiety, a field of anxiety, whether we like it or not. The fact that people placate on your emotions could trigger your mind to go somewhere that it don't need to go. You know what I mean? So those are the things that we have to figure out in order to beat that. Jay said, I gotta ask myself if I tripping word. Sometimes you gotta be biased. You do, and that's the thing because you're gonna have to like a lot of the times when you isolate yourself, you're gonna have to figure out, well, is it a fear or is it a worry? Can I get through this and be myself, or is this the fear to where I don't even want to try to have this conversation anymore, even with myself? Those are things that trigger anxiety because we're not even having the conversations that we need to have to clear the mind to where it could flow easily to say, I'm not worried about nothing. My anxiety can't take over of whatever the situation is. But because there's so much negativity going on, that could trigger an anxiety attack, whether we understand it or not. So we have to, we have to understand that we have to have a free flowing system in our mind to where we can be able to put some things to the side. But a lot of, as pressure busts pipes, so does pressure cause anxiety because there's so much going on. It's like I don't feel like dealing with it. I don't feel like I'm getting up. I'm just gonna lay down all day. Maybe if I lay down, it'll have my mind be at ease. But not even understanding that the more that our mind is idle, the anxiety could still race in our minds nonetheless. So it's just about all the certain things that we have to go through in order to get through these battlefields in our mind, these thoughts process in our minds. Meek says, I have anxiety. Anxiety does not have me, is how I conquered mine. I also learned 75% was related to intercessory prayer, like my burden to pray for others, places, and things. And even with that being said, you're so worried about not doing the right things for other people that it'll cause you to have those type of situations, to have those experiences. You so worried about so many other people that you don't take care of yourself. That could be that could be considered anxiety as well. All because people feel like they gotta please people, and if they don't do that, they have a fear like I'm not doing things correctly, and that can cause you an anxiety attack too. Bro, I seen anxiety push people who actually had good intentions for others because they felt that they was trying to get close just to hurt them. I did it when I was younger, thinking white people wanted to hurt me because I'm black when they were actually trying to help me. But that's what I'm saying because we could be misled and misread people for the wrong things, and that could cloud our judgment and make us fear certain things when there's actually no fear to be in our mind in the first place. But that happens to us a lot. It's always in the mind that we could be misled or misread people to where anxiety kicks in and causes us to have all of these different views and these different looks at things. And that's why I keep saying that everything starts in the mind when it comes to anxiety because it's a mental health situation. So I agree with that, and I agree with you, Kate, that it's all a mind thing. But the question is, how do we not allow it to take over our minds? How do we make sure that a fear of something don't make us become an anxiety victim? You see what I'm saying? It's a necessary conversation, but some of us are so gung ho independent that we won't even see the anxiety inside of us and won't share if we're going through something, even if we are. So you just gotta have that aspect of what can we do to overcome that situation. How can I help you to overcome the situation? Even if you ain't going through, you may want to help, but you need that person to feel free enough to have the conversation. This is what I need you to do. I just need you to sit there and calm me down, distract me, do A, B, and C to not have my mind racing to that form of matter. But a lot of people won't have that. because just like depression, people will worry about them that information being used against them. Always in the mind, fear kicks in, and it'll help you. It'll hurt you more than help you. That's what fear does. It hurts more than helps. That's why, I always come up here and say I would love to help people, but they got to be willing to want to help. If you need somebody to talk to, you got to be willing to want to have the conversation. You understand what I'm saying? But a closed mouth never gets fed. And if a closed mouth don't get fed, what do you think a closed mind is going to do? This ain't going to do nothing but block everything, and nothing's flowing in your mind. That's why you got to understand. You got to exercise your mind. You got to exercise all of these things so you can get away from them aspects in life. But if you don't understand that you need the help, how would you know what the help is going to be for you if you don't know what it is? If you don't admit to needing help, who would you ask for help? Because I'm okay. We got to stop saying I'm okay when we know we're not okay. It's okay to ask for help, especially when you have anxiety attacks. Because if you have an anxiety attack, let's just say the mind is racing so much. Now you have a heart attack just from an anxiety attack. You don't know how much that anxiety attack is affecting your entire body. The same way depression will make you not eat is the same way anxiety will make you not eat. The same way that depression may elevate your heart rate, the same way anxiety could do the same thing. But if you don't have that power to control what's going on in your mind, you should be trying to figure out how to do it. And like I just said, medication is not always the answer. It's just a band-aid. You got to get to the root of the problem. What is causing me to be afraid of flying on an airplane? What is causing me being afraid of not getting on a roller coaster? What is the cause of me being a hoarder and cluttering my whole house, my whole life, my whole mind? You got to have the honest conversation with yourself. You got to examine yourself. Examination of self is just not a spiritual thing. It's a mental thing. It's a physical thing, and it's all of the above. You got to have that examination of self to make sure that you're okay. The same way ladies got to, examine their breasts to make sure there's no lumps, and some men too, because men could get lumps on their breast, and that could be considered breast cancer. It's the same way you must examine yourself in the mind. You have to make sure that your mind is able to free flow. You have to be able that your mind is clear enough to say, you know what, I can go past go. I can go forward and not have a fear in something. Just imagine if you were starting a business and all of a sudden you had an anxiety attack. Your business can't be successful if you're going to constantly have anxiety attacks, because you're so worried that you're going to fail that you don't even see the other end of the aspect that you can succeed. Meek said, no, I mean, it's an indicator for me that God wants me to go into prayer, maybe for children, a region, a situation, pending. Be the 25% is the other stuff you're saying, but today I rarely have them. And that's okay too. The fact that you do that things can help you get away from certain anxieties as well. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with that. But the fact that your mind is flowing to be there for other people, like I said, it can be that way. But sometimes when it ain't going well, it can trigger an attack for you as well. Kay says you have to get help or else you're going to be stuck in a maze. And that's what I'm saying. But you got to understand that you need the help, right? If you sit there and say there's nothing wrong with me and nothing wrong with me, and it gets worse, then it's too late to find out what the root of the problem is, because you're not going to be wanting to have the conversation to find out or tell what the root of the problem is. You might say, you know what? I was worried because, or I'm having this because I haven't been the same since my dog died, or whatever the case may be. You might think it's dumb for somebody to hear what the cause is and might not say nothing, but rather deal with the anxiety attacks of the mind and allow it to affect your body and soul. So we got to, yeah, I got you, Meek. We got to understand the fact that your mind has to be free flowing to allow yourself to not have these problems in the first place. The fact that your mind is so boggled that it can cause these things, that's another topic, but that can lead to other other mental health disorders as well. Besides just the anxiety, it can add to depression. Anxiety can add to your depression situation. It can add to your panic situation. You see what I'm saying? All of this could be a free flowing or substantial mishap, but it's adding on to the negative aspect of your anxiety or mental health. So the fact that this is possible is that is the reason why you need to understand what the problem is and try to get to the root of it and not just keep taking medication because somebody tells you to. The doctor may not want to know what the root problem is. Hey, just take medication and call me in the morning. Take two of these and call me in the morning. Now, like I said, that medication could make your body just have a reaction to the medication. That's tardive dyskinesia, TD, tardive dyskinesia. If I'm saying that wrong, forgive me. But that can be because you're trying to help an anxiety attack go away. But in fact, it's maybe making it worse than it actually is helping. You see what I mean? So the fact that you want to keep putting a band-aid on a problem instead of finding out the root of it can add more hindrance to your to relieving the problem than adding help to it. So we just got to understand that this anxiety thing can very possibly linger on for a very long time. It won't just be, oh, it's just a feeling, I can get over it. No, this may take a couple of days. It may take a couple of weeks. It may take a couple of months. It can very possibly take a couple of years for you to get over it. But you, as the individual, if you're going through this, Bronze, good evening. But if you, the individual, have to understand what the problem is. And if you don't know what the problem is, you got to sit there and really deep examining what the problem is. Examine yourself to know what the problem is. Because if you don't know the problem, how the hell somebody else is going to know what the problem is that make you feel in this way? Now, if you know the problem and can't and won't admit to it, that's still a you thing. You misleading people from allowing you to get the remedies that you need to get over these situations. Like I said, a closed mouth can't get fed. So since a closed mouth can't get fed, nobody knows how to rescue you from a situation or help you get out of a problem. So, the fact that this thing is so existing and it's a powerful entity in the mental health field or the mental illness field that a lot of people won't have this conversation is a problem in itself. It's a problem because we so worried about what other people going to say or how they're going to view us. I don't care. Like, it's easier said than done, right? But the goal should be to heal yourself or get the healing that you need. You can't really worry about other people because that fear alone could keep you trapped into your anxiety situation, your anxiety issues. So, as much as I can say, get the help, as much as I can say, I'm here for you. You gotta that person, that individual would have to want it more than I can give it to them. Because if you striving to get the help that you need, I'm pretty sure everybody around you will support you. But we can't drag you to the water and make you drink it. You understand what I'm saying? We can't give you the information and you don't want the information to get better. So those are the things that we all have to work on as far as, you know, coming to the conclusion of how can we get over this mental illness called anxiety. Kay says medication just temporary. It actually makes it worse, doesn't fix it. Just like a cut. Exactly, Kay. And that's why I'm saying you got to know what the root of the problem is. If you don't know the root of the problem, you can't fix it. That's like somebody saying, I hate you. Why do you hate me? I don't know. I just hate you. We can't even get to the root of the problem because you don't even know what the problem is. And that's the thing that I'm talking about. We got to deep dive ourselves into our mind and say, okay, what is causing this anxiety to exist in my life? What is causing it? Is it a trauma? Is it just a fear of me failing? What is it? But this particular topic of anxiety is so broad. It can be more than one situation. It could be one, but it could be more. It could be two, three, four situations that allow all of this to exist. But the fact that we don't know, you may not understand or know what it is, it hurts you even more because you're not even taking the time to understand what's causing it. And if you're trying to get help, then how would you know? You know what I mean? Chosen one, good evening. So you got to understand what it is that's going to help you to get through what you're going to get through. You know what I mean? So if you don't know how to get through it, you're going to be stuck for a little while. And that's the thing that hurts us more than anything. The fact that we may not know the root of the problem, or if we do know the root of the problem, we're too embarrassed or we're too afraid to say it, which will allow us to linger in this anxiety even more. Scorp, I can't. You know what, Scorp? You play too much. Lady Shea Butter, good evening. But that's the thing that I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, we know that fear takes over this particular aspect of anxiety. We have to find a way to neutralize it so we can come up out of it and be the best us that we can be going forward. But it's not a it's it may not just be an individual thing. It may be an environmental thing that causes anxiety. It could be a whole, that's what I'm saying. Anxiety is so wide and why it happens that we have to we have to know what's really going on with us. Like I said, it could be a collaboration of different things. But if we don't know what it is, if we don't remove ourselves from a situation, we would never know what the situation that's causing it in the first place. So, Scorp, which one are you on? You play too much. I'm sitting there like, oh, who's chosen one? I never heard of this person before in my life, but now you over here playing games. But I got you though. But yeah, as much like I said, we are in. Well, May was the mental health month. Now I think they saying June is for the men, but it ain't just men that's going through this. It's everybody that's going through this. So I'ma just, continue to have this conversation to continue to, help, people to understand what the situation is as far as these mental health scenarios. So that way we can be better prepared if we see it. And, you know, we can't, our goal is not to just let somebody go through it alone. Even if they ask us to, we can observe it and do the best that we can without harming the person. Like I always say, we rather help than hinder. But as long as we know what's going on, if we have a better understanding of it, we can be a better help than just sitting back and just looking at somebody go through it. Because if you just sitting back and allowing a person to go through it without offering to help, you ain't good to nobody. You're not even good to yourself. You would rather somebody suffer through that anxiety attack, that mental illness that's happening, than rather say, is there anything I could do to help? That's not good for anybody. And it damn sure ain't good for the person that's going through it. But more importantly, you should feel some type of way that you're just watching somebody go through it unless you don't care and it don't mean nothing to you. But I believe, Shay, good evening. I just believe that everybody here wants that understanding of, how can I help? If I can help, I would rather help you get through this anxiety attack or be prepared to help you than not knowing nothing at all. So, you know, it, it's a lot like anxiety. Like I said earlier, I didn't know anxiety goes through so many aspects of 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 life like that. Whether it's a trauma, whether it's just a fear, whether it's just a social situation, whether it's just it's so many a phobia. It's so many different things that can spark an anxiety attack. But if you don't know, you don't know. So, I would suggest, to deep dive to what some of the anxiety fields is. Like I said, whether it's a social thing, whether it's just a phobia, whether it's just, a trauma, or whatever it is, you deep dives to understand what it is. Because, the next few topics of mental health is going to be beyond, the scariest parts, whether we're talking about, bipolar, because that's a mental health situation, you know, Alzheimer's slash dementia. That's the everybody feels that's the elder mental health, but that can happen at any given time. So, we'll have those conversations down the road. But the fact that we're having this now and trying to understand what causes it, what causes anxiety attacks, what causes you to feel the way that you feel in the mind about these situations is the first step of trying to get yourself better and trying to help somebody else get better and trying to avoid this before it even takes a part of your life. So, with that being said, I thank everybody for coming through. You know, I truly do appreciate everybody stopping. Scorp, why you keep playing? Paco's the dog? Okay, great. But like I said, I truly do. I thank everybody for stopping by. If you want any more information, just start looking up the different type of anxiety disorders so that way you could better understand that, because I'm pretty sure there's some that you've seen but don't even recognize because you didn't know that was a disorder. So I would suggest, take the time, if you got the time, to just, look at the different disorders, because I promise you, I didn't know hoarding, someone being a hoarder, I never looked at that as an anxiety issue. But because they categorize that, and I know that some traumas could make you anxious, I never looked at it that way. But now that I know that, you know, it better help me say, hey, we need to have a conversation. We need you to, have a conversation with a professional to try to defeat this trauma. Or we need to have the conversation for you to beat this fear. Why do you fear this? Why are you so afraid of, going to the store? Why are you so afraid of speaking in public? Why are you so afraid of so many different things that it'll keep you stuck? It'll trigger that anxiety to where you would never want to do that experience in your life. So with the fact of the matter is we gotta work on this so we can be able to assist somebody. Not only to assist somebody, but if we know the triggers, we could prevent ourselves from becoming a victim to the anxiety attacks that may be occurring in our life. And then we would have to figure out how to reduce those environments and reduce the ailments that cause it, whether it's food, whether it's activity outside, whatever it is. We can all focus on that and be a better person to either assist ourselves or to keep ourselves away from it, or just to assist someone that may be going through it, even if it's just by listening. We would understand what it is to get through those things. So I just truly thank y'all for stopping by. Scorp, you Scorp, you lucky I have no way to talk to you in the background because you need to stop this. You play too much. But thank y'all for stopping by because Scorp, she's trying to get me distracted. So once again, I truly appreciate y'all stopping by. Um, I don't I don't know what the next topic is as far as our conversation, but whatever comes, I'll push live. I hope you be there to hear it and receive it. With that being said, y'all, I'm out.